Dear friend, have you ever been in this situation? It's 2 a.m. The space around you is quiet. Your body is exhausted and longing for rest. But your mind is running a marathon with no end in sight. You lie there, eyes closed but mind wide open. You worry about an email you haven't sent. You ruminate about a slip of the tongue you said to a colleague 3 years ago. Or you fear a risky future that has never happened. We live in the safest era in human history. We no longer have to run from wild animals in the deep forest. We no longer have to fear basic survival threats every day. But ironically, we are carrying more fear within us than ever before. Our greatest enemy today is not outside the door. Our greatest enemy is right in our own thoughts. Exactly 1 millennium ago, in the 11th century, in the mysterious land of Persia, there was a man who understood the depth of this human pain. He was Avicenna, also known as Ibn Sina, who was honored by posterity as the Prince of Physicians, one of the greatest minds ever produced by mankind. In the golden age of human civilization, he left us a spiritual prescription, encapsulated in a saying that to this day, modern medicine with all its sophisticated machinery still has to bow in admiration. He said, "Imagination is half the disease. Peace of mind is half the medicine. And patience is the first step of healing." Today, let's make a cup of tea. Sit down quietly and together decode the disease of thinking too much from the perspective of ancient wisdom. To see how we can find peace of mind in this noisy world. To understand this teaching deeply, we cannot just read it through like a status line on social networks. We need to go back in time, back to the world of Avicenna. He was not a healer who only knew how to prescribe medicine based on vague folk experience. He was a true scientist, who wrote the giant Laws of Medicine, a work that became a standard textbook at the most prestigious medical universities in Europe for more than 600 years. But what made him far beyond his time was that he saw humans as a unified whole. He never separated body and spirit. For him, mind and body were two sides of a coin. They interacted and could not be separated. There is a famous anecdote about his talent that has been passed down through the centuries. The clearest proof of the first part of the saying, "Imagination is half the disease." The story goes that a young prince of noble birth suddenly fell seriously ill. He became increasingly thin, lost his appetite, suffered from insomnia, and his body rapidly deteriorated like a lamp running out of oil. The king, extremely worried, summoned all the best physicians in the kingdom to treat him, but they were all helpless. They examined him thoroughly but could not find any physical damage. No bacteria, no tumors, no wounds on the young man's body. Then, Avicenna was called in. Unlike the others who hurriedly prescribed tonics, he walked to the bedside, calmly sat down, and placed his hand on the prince's wrist to feel his pulse. He asked a person who was well versed in the geography of the area to stand beside him and read aloud the names of all the districts in the city. Avicenna remained completely silent, his eyes closed, focusing all his attention on the pulsations under his fingers. The other person read from district to district. The prince's pulse was still normal, weakly steady, but when the other person read the name of a particular district, the young man's pulse suddenly skipped a beat. Avicenna said nothing, just motioned to continue reading the names of the streets in that district. And then, the pulse again beat strongly on a particular street. He asked to read the names of the families living there, and finally the names of the daughters of that family. When the name of a particular girl was uttered, the prince's heart beat wildly like a war drum, and his haggard face suddenly flushed red. His breathing became rapid. Avicenna smiled gently, let go of the prince's hand and turned to the king and said, "The prince's illness is clear. It is lovesickness. He has fallen madly in love with the daughter of that family but kept it hidden in his heart. The only medicine to save his life is not a rare herb, but a wedding." What does this poetic story show us? It is a powerful demonstration of how thinking creates a biological response. Longing, a purely imaginative activity, had exhausted the prince's physical body to the point of near death. That was the terrible power of imagination that Avicenna wanted to warn about. Today, science calls this phenomenon the nocebo effect, the evil twin brother of the placebo effect. If you believe a sugar pill is a miracle drug, you can be cured by positive belief. But on the contrary, if you believe that you are about to fail, believe that you have a terminal illness when the doctor says there is no such thing, or believe that people are judging you, your body will start to produce real symptoms. Try a little experiment right now. Close your eyes and imagine that you are holding a bright yellow fresh lemon. You bring it to your nose to smell the strong aroma. Then you cut it in half. Lemon juice spraying out. You bring that half lemon to your mouth and bite hard into the sour lemon. Did you see your saliva just come out? Obviously, there was no lemon there. But your body reacted as if it was real. When you fall into the state of overthinking, you are actually abusing the most precious gift of human beings, imagination. Instead of using it to create, you use it to direct horror movies whose only audience is you. You draw the most tragic scenarios, the harshest criticisms, and replay them over and over in your head. And here is the tragedy: your brain, the most sophisticated machine in the universe, is in this aspect as naive as a child. It is blind to the difference between reality and illusion. It does not know that the tiger baring its fangs is just an invisible thought about work. To the brain, the danger signal is the same. Immediately, it screams red alert. It orders the body to release a chemical storm into the blood. Cortisol and adrenaline flood your veins. Your blood begins to thicken in preparation for rapid clotting in case of injury. Your heart beats like the drums of war, pump blood to the muscles. The stomach stops. Breathing becomes shallow and rapid. The entire body tenses, ready for a life or death struggle, a struggle that doesn't exist. Consider this painful paradox. You're sitting quietly on your comfortable sofa, in the safety of your air-conditioned room, but underneath your skin, your body is being ravaged as if you were fleeing a battlefield. You are not sick with a virus. You are not sick with bacteria. You are poisoning yourself, hour by hour, with invisible poisons of your imagination in the eyes of the famous physician Avicenna. This phenomenon is explained philosophically but extremely accurately in terms of physiology. He believes that prolonged fear and anxiety will make the body cold and dry. Why cold? Because when you are afraid, blood is withdrawn from the skin's surface to hide deep in the internal organs, making your hands and feet cold and your face pale and gray. Why dry? Because the fire of anxiety burns away moisture, also known as vitality, causing the body to wither like a tree lacking water. That is why people who worry a lot are often skinny, have poor digestion, and always have a dark look. They let the ghosts of the mind drain the last bit of life energy from the body. Let's analyze this mechanism more deeply to see the dangerous innocence of our brain. Imagine your brain like a military commander sitting in a sealed bunker, skull. This commander does not directly see the outside world. He only receives reports through the senses and imagination. When you encounter a real tiger, your eyes send images back, and the commander orders, danger. Speak to the whole army. But when you lie in bed and imagine being scolded by your boss tomorrow, or worry about a dark future, your brain, that naive commander, cannot distinguish between a real tiger and a paper tiger. It believes that your life is in danger right now. And so, it presses the red button. A chemical storm is released. The adrenal glands pump cortisol and adrenaline into the blood in large quantities. Blood begins to thicken in preparation for rapid clotting if a wild animal bites you. This is why long-term stress causes blood clots and strokes. Heart beats like crazy to pump blood to the muscles, preparing for escape, causing high blood pressure. Digestive system completely shuts down, because when facing a wild tiger, the body does not need to digest food. This is why Avicenna observed that people who worry a lot always have stomach aches and digestive disorders. Immune system inhibited. The body devotes all its energy to immediate survival, neglecting cell repair or fighting off bacteria. Picture this. You are lying quietly on a soft mattress, in a cool, air-conditioned room. There is no tiger, but underneath your skin, your internal organs are screaming, being ravaged by an imaginary war that you are directing. Avicenna called this state cold and dry. He explained that when you are afraid, even if it is an invisible fear, chi, life energy, will withdraw deep inside to protect the heart, leaving the periphery untouched. That is why your hands and feet are cold. Your skin is gray and lifeless. And the smoldering fire of anxiety will burn the moisture in your body, making you wither and age prematurely. So how do we escape from our own prison? How do we get the other half of the medicine? Which is the peace of mind? Avicenna does not advise us to suppress our thoughts. Because the more we try not to think, the more we think. He advises us to restore order to our body and mind. Starting with the smallest habits. Therapy 1. Mental fasting. In Avicenna's medicine, the first principle to cure any disease is to review the input. He had a golden rule about eating. Never eat a new meal until the old one is completely digested. Because if you do, the food will rot, creating toxins and fumes that will rise to the brain. With the mind, this rule is also absolutely correct. Look at your day. You wake up and scroll through your phone. You have lunch and watch the news. You go to the bathroom and read dramas. You take in information continuously. Layer upon layer. Your mind is overfed. It doesn't have a moment to digest what it has taken in. And the result is congestion, creating fumes of anxiety and chaos. Avicenna's solution here is information fasting. Try practicing the twilight of the mind rule every day when it starts to get dark, or at least 1 hour before bed. Completely disconnect from the digital world. No news, no emails, no social media. This is the time when you allow your brain to go into digestion mode. Let the silence creep in. At first, the silence will make you uncomfortable, even panic, but be patient. It is in that silence that the emotional residue will settle, and the clarity of wisdom will appear. Therapy 2. Cool the fire of anxiety with sensory cooling. Avicenna believed that when we overthink, the brain is heated and becomes dry. To extinguish this illusory fire, we need the element, water, and coolness. And the fastest way to bring coolness to the brain is the sense of smell and breath. On the scent. In ancient medical texts, Avicenna often prescribed rose or sandalwood essential oils for people suffering from depression. Modern science has proven that the sense of smell connects directly to the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain, without going through the filter of logic. When a storm of thoughts comes, don't try to argue with it with reason. Light a rose-scented candle, or diffuse some essential oil. The soothing scent will immediately send a safe signal to the brain, calming the nervous system. On the breath. The breath is the only anchor that keeps you in the present. When you are anxious, your breath is short and rapid. Reverse this process. Practice the 4-7-8 breathing technique. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds. Hold the breath for 7 seconds. And exhale slowly through the mouth for 8 seconds. Why a longer exhale? Because when you exhale slowly, you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for rest and relaxation. With each exhale, you release pressure, cool down your hot head, and get your blood flowing smoothly again. Therapy 3. Energy transfer, from head to hands, grounding through action. This is the most important therapy. Avicenna was a tireless worker of the mind and hands. He realized that passive idleness is the fertile ground for the weeds of anxiety to grow. When you overthink, all your biological energy is concentrated in the head. You feel heavy in the head, but your limbs feel limp and redundant. The solution is to redistribute this energy. Draw energy from the head to the hands and feet. Don't sit still thinking about how to stop worrying. Get up and do something that requires meticulousness with your hands. It could be cleaning up a messy room, copying a paragraph, cooking a meal, tending a plant, or knitting a scarf. Why these things? Because when your hands are busy with rhythmic movements, your brain is forced to shift its focus from abstract thoughts about the future, the past, to concrete sensations, tactile, visual, in the present. Concrete actions are the enemy of vague anxiety. When you see a cleaner room, a more lush plant, your brain will secrete dopamine, the reward of completion. It is this feeling of control over the little things that will gradually help you regain the belief that, I can control my life. And finally, please do not forget the most important part. The part that concludes the teachings of the great physician. Patience is the first step to healing. We live in an age of instant. We want everything to be fast. And we also want to stop being sad and anxious immediately. But healing is a journey, not a button. Your body needs time to eliminate toxins. And your mind needs time to learn to be at peace again after long years of being drained. Don't blame yourself if you still think a lot today. Be patient with yourself like a gardener patiently waiting for a seed to sprout. The next time you find yourself drowning in the darkness of confused thoughts in the middle of the night, Remember the image of the old Persian doctor thousands of years ago. Take a deep breath and tell yourself to myself. This is just imagination. It is not reality. Right now, I choose peace of mind. True health is not just beautiful test results. Health is a peaceful mind inside a strong body. Hopefully, sharing this ancient wisdom will be a small light, illuminating you on your journey to find balance. Wishing you a peaceful night and a peaceful mind.